This is the fabulous unexpected consequences of going digital. It's great to be here, and what I'm going to show you is some stuff that I've seen by being able to go around the world and see cool stuff, and also some of the things we're doing in California. Got to play a little bit in the development of the technology blueprint that Tom Torlakson talked about. We are sort of behind in California. Anybody have that sense? We don't want to say that outside the state, but we're a little behind again. Used to be the leaders. I was in Alabama, they're kicking our butts. It's like, what? How can this be? Anyway, a lot of problems that we've now solved. Don't you think this is the momentum is going now in California? It's shifted, we're going forward. I really feel good about California this year. And really, it's a good time to be here. And it's a good time to be teaching because we now have these tools that let us teach better and faster and differentiate, do all this really wonderful stuff. And you'll see it shows up in just about every form of data, and there's also these unexpected consequences when you turn kids loose in this way. So this is what we're going to talk about. This, first of all, because we talked about coding at this conference a lot, I love this picture. This is from a school in Canada. And it's a school in Canada that very proudly says, we are the school with holes in our wall. And here's why. You walk by, and here's a hole, and it's got plexiglass on it, so it's there, but it lets students see the plumbing. Is it good that students see how plumbing works? Do students use plumbing? Are we going to need plumbers? Are you going to outsource your plumbing to Mumbai? Probably not. Which means, why not do this? Schools aren't supposed to be a place where, trust us, you can learn. Schools are places where you say, here's how it works. I mean, to me, that's what coding is. It's like, here's how it works. So in this school, you walk and there's holes in the wall, little QR. What do you think the QR code leads to? Here's a little hint. Yeah. Something about plumbing systems, right? How it works, the valves, pressure. There's a whole lot of lessons in this. But you walk through and there's a holes in the floor with plexiglass, please, over it. And you look down and you see the joists and you see the cement and the foundation. Good for kids to see that? Yes. So in the ceiling, they see the routers, and all that stuff. It's a good thing. So it's the whole notion that now we can empower kids, and schools should be a place that does stuff like that. So I really love that. So this could be a QR code that goes to a student explaining it. It could be a video, be a discovery video. Here's how valves work, or whatever it is. But it's just the notion that that's what school now should be. Don't you think so? And if you want holes in your walls, just get some middle school kids together. I mean, you know the rest, but anyway, okay, so that's what we're doing. So first of all, what does it mean to go digital? We're talking about that, talking about going digital as sort of a way to look behind the walls, the way the world works. What does it mean? A lot of people don't know really what you talk about when you say the digital transformation. So the simplest way to explain it is this way. So what is this? What are we looking at? Yes, a football game, right? A football game. Now, first of all, what is that yellow line? Yeah, augmented reality, yeah. It's the first down mark. It's where you're going, right? Is that actually on the field? Somebody come out and keep laying that out with lime? No, that's augmented, right? That's digitally overlaid. Who's playing up there? Who's playing? Yeah, UCLA and USC. I tried to cover my bases. Who got my teaching California credential at Cal State? It's not that. But anyway, UCLA and USC. What's the score? Good. How much time's left in the game, you think, roughly? 6 minutes, 25 seconds, right? So all this stuff is there, is augmented. Watching this is a very different experience. This is digital. This is analog. This is what people used to watch. Who's playing? What's the score? How much time is left? This is why Americans drink so much when they watch sports on TV, because this is how you started. No one really knew what was going on. It was like radio with pictures. So this is what it means. This is digital, and this is not. And which really do we want to teach our kids with, right? We want to be able to do this stuff. If you're, I'm trying to explain American football in Europe, this really helps, because otherwise it's incomprehensible. I mean, it's sort of incomprehensible anyway, but the idea is that if we can teach this way, we need to do it. And that's what digital really means. So the main reason to do digital is not, kids need future jobs and all that kind of stuff. All that's true. You get that. But the real reason is it's better for teaching and it's better for learning. These tools make the teaching job more effective. They make learning better for an awful lot of kids that we didn't used to reach very well. That little bar of kids that will do just fine no matter what we do, they're fine. Everybody else, they're going to learn better this way. So the real reason to do it, even though 21st century skills, the real reason is teaching and learning. It really does work better, and we'll see that. So here's an example. So this is a math book. You already know it. I taught math. I had a lot of second language learners in there. So here's a math book, and let's see what this one does. It's a little bit different. It's digital. So here you can highlight the words.
Did you ever wonder why phone numbers in the United States,
so the book reads itself to a kid. How many people think that's a big deal?
As we move through the 21st century,
if reading is stopping you from learning science or from learning mathematics, you should have a book that does this. This is the way books should work. This is a cloud-based book. It's cheaper than the books I used to buy as a math department chair in LA Unified, or supplemental stuff. And yet it does all this other stuff and all this other digital material too. So this was a kid. I was at a conference in Philadelphia, the ISTE conference, and you're not going to really be able to understand her, but there's a CNN anchor there, and he's talking about digital learning and something like that. A lot of people in the room, all over the world. And he talks about readable text. And this kid, who's a middle school kid, stands up. I'm running over with my cell phone to grab it, right?
When you're a kid who normally reading a book could take me 3 weeks.
And you can't hear what she says, so I wrote it up here. But she says, reading normally take me months. She says, and now I can be in the same chapter, go to class and say, hey, I read the book too, but I didn't read the same way you read. That's pretty good. So she says, she jumped up and says all this, right? She was, in her words, years behind, and then she caught up. That kind of learner, we would not have been able to help 10 years ago. Wouldn't have been able to do it. So anyway, it was her teacher who knew that this was her, and good teaching job, knowledgeable, and did that. Anyways, that's how that kind of works. So here's a science book. It was a math book we saw. Here's a science book, and it's in English, and it'll read too. But you can also go up to the top, and you can change it into, let's see, I can change the fonts. I can also change it into Spanish. So here's the same book, videos, pictures. Let's see if it'll read to our students in Spanish.
Conociendo la formación de nuestro sistema solar.
El libro puede leer. The book knows how to read. Whoa, how good is that? So this again, a reason to do it. How many of you think you have kids that might appreciate flicking back and forth? Or parents that want to help them at night that would appreciate flicking back and forth? Again, cheaper way to do it, way better. It's cloud-based. Here's what else you can do with a cloud-based thing. You can update it. How many planets? Oops. I mean, you can update it, right? You can update it. So that's another beauty of this. And again, it means that you can't just drop this on a faculty and go, well, this is all magic. See you in 6 months. Let's look at our test scores. This is difficult to do. To do a transition like this, people next door are talking about this, you're talking 2 years, 3 years. Cindy likes to say to really transform classroom culture takes more than 3 years. Because there's a certain fixed set. And how many teachers here, how many have been teaching more than 10 years? Let me see those hands again. So you probably were pretty good at it, right? You're probably pretty good at what you did 5 years ago. But now it's changed, right? And this has to, and you have to say, you're allowed to fail, you're allowed to experiment, it's going to go down, because otherwise the first time you get the spinning ball, you're grabbing for the overheads. You go, that's it. I'm going back, this worked for 20 years. It's like, So you have to do PD. You have to let people explore. We'll let you, Leslie Farmer, we'll let you be a model. We're going to all go into your room and we'll watch you teach. And we're not going to do it all in one semester. We're going to make sure we have you as the lead teacher. And anyway, there's ways to do it. But in the end, what you get is working with like this. And your kids then go, oh. And it's really nice. But there's no magic devices that you just drop in. And districts still make this mistake. It stuns me to see this. They go, we're going 1-to-1. What's your PD? Well, we didn't have enough money for the PD. We're going to give them all Chromebooks or all iPads because they'll figure it's like, oh, man. Anyway, so you know what happens next, right? You know what happens next. Anyway, maybe the next superintendent will do better. Anyway, so that's... Here's what else is great, digital books. There's that same science book that changed into Spanish. Look what else I got. I have the ability to change reading levels. So in a book, I can change reading levels. So when I taught LA Unified, and maybe, let me just ask you, how many of you suspect that in some of the classrooms in your district, there are kids next to each other with different reading levels? How many suspect that? Not supposed to be that way, but so my problem was finding engaging material written at the right grade level. So the ability to do this is pretty nice. So here's an example. Anybody use Newsella, Newsella.com? Okay, so here's how it works. Here's a story, for example, of a macaque monkey who took selfies. Anybody know this story? A nature photographer actually set up a camera, and this monkey would take selfies. And so they got distributed, they were famous, and all this kind of stuff. And somebody said, well, the monkey should own the rights to those pictures. So PETA, here's the headline, PETA sues to give monkey the copyright of selfie photos. So the monkey has a lawyer, basically, right? So over here is what is that? Yeah, that's the Lexile levels, right? So Lexile levels. So we're reading at max right now because we're all college graduates. So we're reading at max, and here's what it says. A macaque monkey who took now famous selfie photographs should be declared the copyright owner of the photos, comma, rather than the nature photographer who positioned the camera, comma, animal rights activists contend in a novel lawsuit filed last Tuesday, period. How many people could follow that? We follow it, right? I mean, we're all one long sentence. But here's what I can do is what her students do, you slide it down to a lower Lexile level. Now it's not PETA anymore. Animal rights group sues so monkey can own rights to famous selfies. 4 years ago, comma, a monkey took some selfies, period. Now the pictures are famous, period. An animal rights group thinks the monkey should be able to own the photos, period. So, same content, easier to read, subject, predicate, easier to read. So now nobody's left behind. You can all talk about the monkey, it becomes part of the class, conversation, but you got all these different reading levels. And if a kid then scoots up the Lexile level just to see how they do, that's fantastic, right? Because we're not dummying it down, we're scaffolding it. And there's a real difference, and that's one of the things you can do when you go digital. This is, again, a math book. I love the Pythagorean theorem. If you teach any math people here? If you teach the Pythagorean theorem, there are like 4 easy ones, right? Maybe 5, and then it's hard. But it's the beauty of it is, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Here's one of the easy ones. But with a digital math book that can run on a tablet or a Chromebook, whatever else you got at your old grandmother's Dell, you can scoot it around. So we can explore the relationship, and I can say, explore it and see how it works, and you can demonstrate it to me. You prove it without me having to give you this fluency stuff, which means you grind it out and grind it out and grind it out. Because then you can do a test that says, look, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Here I can explore, and you know what? Now math can be more fun. The fluency part isn't so heavy. It's like if you love literature and you teach sentence diagramming. It's got to drive you crazy. So here's math. You can teach math and love it again. So that's how that works. You can do things like this. If I can play around, here's what may be we might used to give questions. Now we can give answers and say to the kids, what's the question to this answer? This is from a classroom. So these are the kids that take Post-it notes and put it up. I think the problem could be this. I think the problem could be this. And here's the answer. Different way to teach math, right? More fun, more fun. Anyway, so that's how it works. What are the expected benefits? When you go digital, this is what you expect. You expect engagement, and you expect that to show up in your test scores. So test scores go up. And we've been doing this a long time. I've been talking about it for 10 years. So there's lots of data. One of the beauties of working at some conferences is that if you're on a panel with people, particularly digital adapters, they give you their PowerPoint slides because they don't know how to really do anything. So I get the slides, I just keep them all. So I have all their data. All this is data drawn from other districts. And we could talk about it forever. But I thought just to show you, we'd go back to some of a place in time where they were early adopters and how it worked, both at K-12 on one coast and high school on the other coast. Just as an example snapshot. You can find all this stuff. So this is Napa. How many of you know Napa? Anybody here from Napa? What's Napa famous for? Wine. And what's the primary language do you think of the people that help work those vineyards? Yes, Espanol. So they began to notice at the county that when the kids hit kindergarten, there was already a vocabulary gap. Part of it's cultural, part of it's other things, but there was a big vocabulary gap already in preschool. Well, if that's going to happen, I'm supposed to be up here for the camera. If that's going to happen, then if you don't fix it by 3rd grade, it starts to go like this, and by middle school, it can go like this. So you've really got to address it early. So what they did, Barbara Nemko, who's the county soup there, went to the vintners and said, why don't you give us some money? And they went, okay. I mean, that's shortening the story, but so they did one-to-one iPads, and they chose iPads, and they used a program called Footsteps to Brilliance, and they raised the overall reading comprehension of the California preschools from 58.5 to 74.6. All these researchers descended on Napa. These are the kind of hard to read. These are the English language learners and the non-English language learners, which means these are the native speakers, Native American speakers, native English speakers. And this is the age level at which they were reading. And if you look at this, look at the pre and post. So here's the pre. There's a big gap there. By the time at the end, the gap was sort of gone. And this is higher because the numbers are higher. But basically, that gap went away. So it was pretty exciting in a 4-week program. And the kindergarten teachers, Barbara tells the story, first saw this happening and went, you're not bringing those screens into my class. You can't do screen time with kids that young. And even the American Pediatric Association now goes, oh, we were talking about TV when we wrote all those things. iPads are different, so maybe we should rethink this. Anyway, the data was pretty good. And if you're this kid, if you're one of these kids that are in this section that got boosted up, you're in a lot better place than your brother was 5 years ago. A lot better place than your brother was 5 years ago. So that's an early adoption. They ended up spreading it over the county. It was a very good deal. Those same kindergarten teachers then said, we have to do this in every school. You know what I mean? So that's how it works. Here's high school. So this is Mooresville on North Carolina, the other coast. And they're a rural suburban district. And these were their high school graduation rates. And they're sort of the poster child for how this works. But take a look. I like to look at the African American population there. You can see free and reduced lunch, same way. So when they started this, and the years aren't up there, this is 2006, and then the change up to 2012. I don't know where that little word like is, but 2006. So this is a 6-year journey, right? 6-year journey, starting in 2006. When they started, the African American graduation rate was 67%. 6 years later, it's 98%. It's like, what? This is like, what are you smoking kind of things. So Mooresville has now got this cottage industry of people that come through, educators come through and look at what they're doing in the classrooms. Look at what they're doing in the classrooms. There's a 2-year wait if you want to go visit. But this is pretty good. Now, why do you think that is? Why do you think you get boosts like that? What do you think? Yeah, engagement. They get engaged. And so maybe, and if they can read better because they've been scaffolded, maybe they go, I don't feel dumb at school. Maybe I'll stick around school. Maybe I like school. Maybe I'm successful here. All those things happen. That's pretty cool. Anyway, and just think if you're one of these kids and you don't do it, you're in this range. You're part of the people that are dropping out. So that's why you've really got to do this now. You can't go, oh, we're really sorry. Well, 67%, that's too bad, but we had other things to do this year. I mean, you really want to move forward because you're saving these kids. So preschool, high school, data's pretty convincing. A lot of different ways to do it, a lot of different products, but you really want to make that transition to the digital age. Now, here's what else is interesting. So everybody always looked at the test scores, which if you're old school, kind of drives you crazy anyway, because it's not the only measure of how engaged a kid is. But okay, we'll look at test scores. Then this other stuff started to come up, which is pretty cool. So here's one of, and here, let me explain this to you. This is one of the unexpected benefits. So we're going back to football on TV, right? Football on TV. So this is football on TV, and you've got all these different camera angles you can pick from. You know how they say, let's look at that tight end. Well, they're shooting every tight end with a camera, right? And this guy will say this, and he'll say pull up number 7, and then all these guys are controlling different camera angles. So that's okay, and that makes a good experience. But here's what's going to happen. You may want, there's a director over there. It's hard to see in the dark. But you may want to just look at the ends. You're sitting and watching with a group of people that play the end position. That's all the feed you want. I'm telling you, pretty soon, you're going to be able to watch that feed. It's just a digital stream. Right now, it goes through this box right there. Doesn't have to. Doesn't have to. You should be able to pick, and that's going to happen. You're going to be able to pick that. It's pretty good change, or you want to watch this. Whatever you want to do. I just want to watch the crowd. It's going to take a lot of bandwidth to do that, but it's what's possible. So in a school, it means that when you look at that in terms of instruction, kids can pick where they want to go. They can find ways to learn. So this is Hicks Canyon, which is the teachers are right next door. I went to their school, and this is the only direct instruction that you see in this room. They're not one-to-one, but they have a room. It's a giant school, 900 kids, K4. They have a room called the iPad Lounge. They use iPads. And it's where learning is today special, right? So you go in, and this is the only direct instruction. And here's one girl that already knows how to use the app, right? So the teacher's explaining, she's going, I'm already there, I'm already there. So you'll see that, but the other kids that know how to use the apps have their worksheet, and they're working either in groups or at their desk. So I'm walking around, and if you take a look, here's a direct instruction. Look at the screens when I go out to the room. 33 kids in this classroom. No kid is in the same place. No kid is doing the assignment the same way. Everybody is looking at it in a different way, take a different route in, which is just like on an airplane where you see everybody watching a different screen, right? We're not in the day where everybody watched the same movie anymore. So this is pretty neat. So we're walking around, and I get to one kid, and the kid slides his iPad under the desk, right? It's like, so you come up and you go, oh, what is your work? I'll bet it's really good. Can I see? So little by little it comes out. And here's what he was doing. He was drawing the assignment. He was expressing it in a visual way with drawing. So why do you think he hid it from me, the guy in the suit with the camera? Why did he hide it? What do you think? Why would a kid hide something like that? Might he gotten in trouble? Didn't want to be told? No. Doesn't want to be told, don't do it. It's like he's digging it. It's like, I just don't want to know I can't do it. So he does it in this way, which is pretty cool. And that's what you want, right? So that's elementary. It's all very good. This is a high school. This is in Canada, and they're studying of mice and men. So they're studying of mice and men. And you don't need to hear this so much, but again, none of them are in the same place. They have to express the meaning of mice and men. One kid's making a project with a ruler, and another kid's doing something on a Mac, and these kids are working on their mobile phones. And I get to this one girl, and sure enough, I get to a kid who closes her computer when I walk by. And I said, so I turned off the camera. This is the girl, look, she sees me coming. As soon as I walk around and see what's on her screen, she snaps it up, right? So I stop the camera, which means stop the cell phone, and go over and ask her, and she says what she was doing, and then I get her to talk. Well, I did ask her, and here's what she says. Oh, did we just start the whole thing over again? Oh, we don't need to do that. Anyway, she had been dragging drawings from the web into her project because she said, I can't draw. She didn't know whether it was okay or not to drag stuff into a project. So here's a girl that can't draw, doing it her way, doesn't want to be told no. There's a little kid who can draw, and that's what digital means. They can do all this. Now you can do this, and some of your teachers, and if you probably are doing this now, but it's hard to do. It's hard to have 8 different stations for everything and set up. This makes it easier for everybody when you get there to do the kind of differentiation. Anyway, here's the teacher, because this was interesting to see in an English literature class, and here's what she said.
I remember when I started teaching, I used to keep a silent environment. I had people in rows, and I was extremely strict. I was like, if your paper's not in the minute I get in here, it's 0. Like, I went through that kind of old school, and to be honest, I wasn't happy. I found that it was like militant. I was unhappy. I didn't want to come to work every day, and now I love my job. It's a different environment. The environment's better, so I love it. And they like it.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. So she got excited. Look, this is a school that has a blackboard. You know what I mean? She's excited. How many of you know teachers like that have turned around and gone, gosh, this is so cool. So this is one of the unexpected benefits. So working with the district of Indiana, and they made the transformation, small district, and they kept all the data that they needed. And the superintendent goes, well, we started our conversion 2014, and average teacher attendance rate went up 35%. And I said, what does that mean, average attendance rate? He said, it means the average teacher missed 3 less days a year. Why would that be? Same answer. They're engaged. They like doing it too. So even though Mr. Stevenson has a boat and it's Friday, he's at school. It's like, whoa, dude, you're accumulating sick days. Anyway, this is significant. How many of you think that that's what would happen in your district if you did that? They get excited and stuff goes on. So, and you can't monetize this ahead of time, but if you take 3 sub-days per teacher in your district and do the math, you got some money you didn't expect to have, which is pretty nice. So look at some more stuff. This is a Baltimore County. Baltimore County, those people were here. Q brought them here to explain. Anybody see the Baltimore County folks? Ryan Imbriali. Anyway, great stuff. So here's some data. I got this from Intel, and I checked with the superintendent, who I know because we're both on the ISTE board. And I said, is this really true? K-3 school, Hawthorne Elementary, 43% immigrant families. They went digital. They did it exactly right. They picked early lead teachers. They got everybody excited. A school could only go digital if, and I've forgotten the exact number, 80% of the teachers wanted to, 80% of the students wanted to, and 80% of the families. They had to sign off and say, we want to do this, which is a brilliant strategy, right? Because not everybody's going to get to do it. Do you want to be a lighthouse school? Oh, you don't? This will be a lighthouse school. Anyway, they did it really well. So the first year, referrals went down 89%. It's like 89%. First of all, I'm a secondary teacher. I didn't know they had referrals at the elementary level. I thought, we're big, don't you just go sit down? They go, okay. Take this note home. Okay, I'll do that. I mean, apparently there were referrals. I'm shocked. But so it goes down 89%. That's pretty good. And again, why do you think that is? Engagement, right? They don't want to leave. They don't want to get kicked out. Anyway, one of the side benefits. So I'm in Florida earlier this year at their Principal of the Year ceremony, and here's a guy, they went one-to-one, and he had all this great data. Bill Floyd, great principal. He said, the effect has been stunning. These are all his words. He's talking to his peers. I'm just like writing them down. 50% fewer discipline referrals. And look at this, increase in AP participation. And he said, these were not the typical AP kids we used to get. So you know who that means. These kids went, oh, there's AP kids in it, we're over here. It's like they went to AP, and the AP pass rate went up, even though they got these non-traditional AP kids. How cool is that? So again, he says it was you don't have to go one-to-one, but they did. He said, this is why it worked. So these were the unintended consequences. The unintended consequences of going digital, the benefits of how that works. Anyway, and you saw that one already. This is Capo. I talked to these guys last night, and this is pretty cool. They after they began their digital implementation, they surveyed the kids who were 5 through 12, and Jerry Davis is still around, you can ask him, but here's one of the things they found. First of all, after they surveyed these kids, they said 60% of them worked with a kid they'd never worked with before, didn't talk to, right? I don't know if you've ever been back to your high school reunion, and they go, hi, I don't remember you at all. We were in the same homeroom. We were? Yeah. I sat next to you. Oh, I mean, you don't always talk to everybody, but when you can do projects like we saw that high school doing, suddenly you work with somebody else. Oh, I don't draw, and I can't use the web. Who knows how to draw? You. Leslie knows how to draw. Would you help me? Suddenly, we've got that going, which means bullying gets mitigated. You have new roles as a techspert. All that stuff happens because you make kids feel better about being there and smart. Anyway, all this good stuff that happens. You almost never have this with a textbook, right? Hey, who knows how to find page 17? You. Work on my team. It's like, no. You know what I mean? How do you dog-ear a page? Could you help? That just doesn't happen. But when you do these kind of projects, and this is a benefit, is this the kind of skills they want in industry? Yes. So again, unintended benefits. It's very good. And this is the last slide on this subject, but this is a study by Marzano. How many of you heard of Marzano, right? The god of assessment. So a professional learning environment hired him and said, hey, we want you to go. He went to 123 sites, 12 states, California was one, and they monitored how much teachers were using the technology. And some of the teachers, aside from the part you had to do your job, went in, because you can track it, and they spent 531 hours in there learning, playing, exploring. How many of you have teachers like that in your district? And then there's some teachers who spent 0. Now, in the district next door, there are probably teachers like that. I mean, not in your district, but here's the thing that Marzano found. It was the only one-to-one correspondence in this whole study. And you can pull it down if you want. It's one-to-one correspondence. The more engaged the teachers were, the better the kids scored on what he called a standardized test. And I used to think, look how cool this is. And then I thought, so I guess it's pretty obvious that an engaged teacher is a better teacher. It's like we have to see data to figure that one out. But anyway, that's how it works. Something we've always really known it, so it's pretty cool. And again, we had this is Peabody College of Ed, but long study basically says we now have the ability to really find what individuals like and how they do it at the school level, and we should do it because all these industries are going to depend on that. And all these are now places that really need creativity, thinking outside the box. So it's a really, really important thing to do. So that's how it works. So that's basically the data behind unintended consequences. How many people are somewhat convinced by this, that it's a good thing to do? Right, I need the reinforcement. Okay, good. So, because then let's look at what else can happen. Now we've looked at the teaching and learning part. For teaching and learning, the right tools, the right professional development, transformative difference on all those different levels from preschool through high school really does make a difference. But once you've got those devices, the unintended consequences happen, but there's also other stuff you can do that's really, really cool. So I thought we'd have, this is an election year, no one really seems to care about California because it's always over by the time it gets here, right, in the primaries. So I thought we'd at least have an election. So I'm going to show you some technologies you can do, and then we're going to vote and see which is the best one. I'll explain the caucus in a second. But Jason Oler, old buddy Jason Oler, has a blog called Big Ideas, and I just wish I had said this, but the future is just getting started. All the stuff that we're going to play with now that you see at this whole conference, it's not a stopping point. How many elementary people in elementary school? Okay, by the time your third graders are in high school, who knows, right, what it's going to be? And that's sort of which is why we want to get there. Anyway, so here's what we're going to do. Here's some of them. This is the Museum of London. This is an app. Did I just mention them? Global Learning. Did I mention that? So I'm in London, and you have your mobile phone, and you can walk around, and you stand on a street, and if you line it up right, it shows you what the street looked like decades ago. So here's a still shot. So decades ago, and you looked at, is this Carnaby Street, I think? Here's what was happening in that same street, right? Here's a guy, soldier getting a shoe shine, a woman in a fur coat. I mean, how nifty is that, right? They've done this in New York, they're doing it in Boston. You just line it up because there's a GPS in your phone. It sees the recognition and goes, oh, here's what it used to look like. Isn't that cool? So to me, we could do a lot of things with that. Right now, there are free apps. If there's time, we can play with them. I can show you. But you could do a VR like this in your classroom now or the district office, whatever you want to do. And then when a class comes in, you can say, let's look at the people that were here last year. It's like, oh, that's Sylvia. Look at her hair. Or, whatever they do. I mean, it's very cool. If you look at 10 years, you look at different, or you can look at elementary. My daughter, it was always fun to go visit her elementary school. You say, this is what our class was 3 months ago. Remember we had the orca set up on the ceiling and all that stuff? And you go, this is what it was 3 months ago. How cool is that? And eventually you put it in a cardboard and you can look around and go, look how far we've come in the time we've done it. So this is a web-based app, but there's a mother and daughter looking for shells on Normandy Beach. So how impactful is to look around and see this is what was happening in 1944. Is that a good thing? It's like, wow, wow. So you have schools and I was in a school that had really been transformed in the time since desegregation, and to look around and see what that's, think how powerful that would have been. And they had pictures on the wall and stuff like that, but to look around and go, in that same seat, because sometimes we keep the same chairs in school for like a couple of decades, you know what I mean? And in that same chair 10 years ago, here's what this room was like. Look how we move, it's just a good thing. Anyway, so this is how you make it. We won't make one now, but if you want to play afterwards, this is just one of them, makes a VR panorama. You stand, it's free. Oh, I think it's $1 now. But it paints the whole VR, what? Oh, it's free in Google. Google Street View app, you can do this. There's lots of free ways to do it. I'm old school, is the one I like to use, but it's cool. Anyway, so that's that. This is VR as it is in the real world. This is an automobile mechanic. This is a BMW mechanic. So you put on the glasses and then you tell it you want to repair the manifold or whatever it is, and you get a cartoon that lays over the actual thing to show you how to do it, right? So you think that's going to make a difference in the way we train people to do this stuff? Yes, this is ultimately scaffolding. Now, it doesn't actually unscrew it for you. That's months away.
Next step.
But
Remove intake duct. You think you can follow that pretty well? Anyway, this is what's happening. So can we build these now? Can we use this now in a classroom? Yes, augmented reality is there. There are sessions on it at this conference. You can build stuff. I've built interactive books with kids. They film themselves. They put them in the pages. You hold your phone over it and they pop up. It's very cool. So I have gone to great struggles. I did a VR session yesterday. Anybody in the VR session yesterday? it was fun. So I did all this research. I went up to the International Space Station, which you can do. Look around and you see the Earth and you see it's pretty cool. Anyway, this is stuff that's out there now. You put on the cardboard, you wear things like this. This is a German camera manufacturer that does this stuff. And it was so good, I'm just a little acrophobic, you wouldn't know from this stage. But you kind of have to, I know it's not real, but I got the glasses on, and you really just have to do this. You know what I mean? It's like, I know it's fakey, but it's like, okay, because I'm getting, like that. Anyway, so medicine's starting to use this in very big ways. It's very interesting what's going to happen. All right, so that's just a look at what the future can be. So what I want you to do now, you ready to do an election? Are you ready, boys and girls? Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you two technologies, and you're going to talk to the person next to you. You have to be creative. You have to think outside the row. But you're going to find a person, and you're going to say, okay, which one do we want? If you think tool number 1 you want, you're going to hold up one finger, right? Right, one. If it's tool number 2, what do you think? That's right, 2 fingers. If it's tool number 3, you're going to hold up 3 fingers. If it's none of them, if you think none of these would work in your school, you hold 4 fingers. And if you want all of them, then you hold up 5. But here's the thing. This is an election. We want everybody to win. It's like the Leroy Finkel thing. We want everybody to win, but you can only have one winner. So try hard to decide between the two, okay? Now, all these are just a sly way to show you technologies that are out there right now you can actually implement. But let's talk about the benefits, and you decide. We're going to do a little finger polling, see which one of these are worse. Okay, you ready to go? Okay, so here's the first one. Should we use Mystery Skype or Google Lit Trips? How many of you know Mystery Skype? Oh, you're going to like this. How many of you know Google Lit Trips? It's now been renamed. Jerome Berg is here. He set it up. It's very, very cool. So you're going to have to vote and decide which of these is best. So here's what Mystery Skype is. Mystery Skype, people next door again. That's the principle. You Skype with another school, hopefully the same grade level, and you ask yes or no questions to decide, so you can guess where they are. And they ask you yes or no questions to try to guess where you are. And whoever gets there first is the winner. So this side of the room, we don't know where they are. They pop up on our screen. What's the question we ask? Yes or no question to ask where they are, so we can figure out who they are. What? Well, it's not yes or no. Yes or no? Oh, is your temperature above, did you say 50? 50 degrees. All right, and let's say you say no, right? What do you do with that data? The class has to go, let's look up all the places that are below today. Can you go to Weather Map and find that? Can you go online? Yeah, so you've got all these people scrambling, so you end up with all these different jobs. So you find these online. Your class has got to be ready. Somebody's got to be able to get the data on that question. Somebody's got to be able to go to and formulate the next question. It's really cool. But here's how some kids explain it.
Mystery Skype is where 2 schools come together on Skype and ask each other questions to find out where you live.
By using maps, asking questions.
Yesterday we had our first Mystery Skype, and the students made a connection with a class, and through a lot of efforts they helped each other realize where the other school was.
You have a whole bunch of jobs, like question keepers.
Like a 40-year-old 4th grader, like it's kind of
like that type of stuff.
My favorite job is the Google Mapper that I ever did from Mystery Skype.
At the end, you then talk.
We live in Yosemite National Park. We can literally see the 6th world's largest waterfall from our windows.
The laugh only small children can hear. Anyway, they work on it. You still use paper, you still use pencil. You're going digital, but it doesn't mean you don't still do this kind of stuff. So that's a pretty neat thing. That's Mystery Skype. That's tool number 1. That or this one. This is Google Lit Trips. Google Lit Trips, and a lot of you have done it, but every work of fiction, right, typically takes place somewhere in the world, right? It's somewhere. So the kids go in and find where it is, and they build a tour in Google Earth that shows where the book is. So I don't know which one I put up here. Oh, this is Frankenstein. So here's Frankenstein. Oh, I wanted to play. So here's Frankenstein. So then you make this trip. This is actually Jerome explaining how it works. But you can find this on the site.
I then asked students to tell me what they know of the search for the Northwest Passage. Again, this is a topic that few students know about. Neither
Because
did I, in
Frankenstein,
fact,
the
when I first
monster,
read the novel.
chases him through the same places where the ice flows and stuff like that in the book. So you can also study the Northwest Passage while you're building a lit trip.
After a few articles, illustrations, and maps about this topic, I do not begin Frankenstein, but instead have students read an abridged version of Coleridge's Rime of the Ancient Mariner.
Anyway, so you get the idea. Google lit trips. Jerome said, because I heard him at Q, that they're now starting personal journeys for kids. It's like, where did you start? Where did you go? How neat is that going to be, right? Especially in a state like California. Anyway, so those are the two things. These are all the places you have. Make Way for Ducklings is in here. It's preschool all the way through, I think, now college. All of these are books that are there that classes have built and put the literature into where it goes. So those are your two choices. There are only two tools here, so discuss it. Let's just take like a minute to discuss. Pick one of those. What do you think? Which is better? You're going to go back next week, Google it trips, going to build one, use one, or mystery Skype, okay? Let's have that discussion. Everybody ready to vote? So everybody in your group, you can do such. Let's hold up your hand. Either finger one, which is mystery Skype, or two fingers will be Google it trips. All right, hold them up. Let's see those hands. What do you think? Oh, this is good. Okay, hang on. So we have, let me just tell you, you have ones, you have, oh, see, you're chickening out and doing a 5. You got ones, there's 2s, 1s, there's a 5. You guys, you can't vote for everybody. It's illegal in this state. Hang on. Let me just get this because I want to, okay, there we go. So that's pretty good. Anyway, so it's split, looks like mystery Skype, maybe on the basis of straight numbers is the winner. So that's pretty good. All right, and here's just a note on mystery Skype. Thank you for voting. This was fun. You remember that in the mystery Skype video that the school made, they have that kid do that expression? And I thought, what is that? And then I'm following Referrals Davis on Skype, and he's like doing a Kanye. He's like, look, it's like, that's it. So it's like, really, because I thought, why does a kid give a perfectly good explanation and then go like that? He's doing a Kanye. Anyway, so that's how it works. So it's just kind of fun. This is mystery Skype. I don't think there's time to watch this, but I'll tell you that we did this is a group of teachers, and I'm there, and it's kids, and we're mystery Skyping with Brazil.
What was the question?
So the Brazilian kid is asking, are we a Baptist state? So we're in Pennsylvania, you're going, what does that even mean? So he's holding up the map that shows how the United States is broken up into religious denominations. So there's a Catholic state and a Mormon state and there's Protestant states. So he's asking us, are you a Baptist state? We're going, are we? You know. Anyway, that's the kind of things that can happen. It was a lot of fun. All right, second, we're going to try to do 3 of these. If we have time, we'll do 4. Here's the next ballot, second ballot. So Photomath and a math tech book. How many of you know Photomath? We're the math people? Okay, this will potentially horrify you, right? So when I was teaching, it would be like, okay, tonight you're going to do the even number problems on page 39, 1 through 17, and I'm going to differentiate. You do 18 through 25. That's how we differentiated in the old days. Anyway, but now this is an app. It's about a year old, year and a half old. Came out. It's free, and it's called Photomath. Here's what it does. You take an algebra book like this, or a simpler math book, you know. There are the expressions. There's the problems on page, let's say, 39. And you hold the app over the problem, and there's the answer. Hold the phone over a more complicated expression. There's the answer. And math people go, oh, no, I want to see the steps. That's how I know. So you click on the arrow, and there are the steps. So it's like, oh. So do you get how now maybe fluency isn't the thing we should be killing kids with in math if they can take it home? So teachers that know about this, you know who showed it to them? Yeah, kids. They go, look, and you go, oh no. Okay, so, yeah, exactly. So now we can teach math for fun. All right, so that, or this is a digital math tech book. So in this one, here's the expression. Like we looked at it, we solved an expression before, but rather than just solve the expression, here's a slider for the variable c. See, there's c right there. It's one of the variables. I can pick whichever variable I want. If I want to see, if I'm exploring, what shape is that? That's a parabola. If I'm exploring parabolas, I want to see what those variables mean, what they do, not without having to graph them. So look, I can simply use the slider, change the c variable. See it changing over here? And I can see what happens to the parabola. I don't have to get my French curve and do all that. We can actually talk about what it means. A comet's coming, or there's a splash in water. Talk about the fun stuff. So that's what a digital math book can be. So now, I'll let you decide, which should we have in our schools? What should we be teaching? Should it be the apps like Photomath? Or should we be using digital books that sort of do more than do the fluency part? So that's tool 1 is Photomath and apps like Photomath. Tool 2 is digital books. Okay, you want to discuss it? I see no need for discussion. Nobody's, what do you think? Okay, so hold up your fingers. Let's see. Oh, so this is one. Okay, this is good too. Okay, hang on, just hold them just for a second. I don't know where my phone is. So this is twos. More 5s than there should be, but yes. Do we want kids to know how to use those things? I mean, we do, but if we're going to teach them math, we better use digital books. So anyway, that's very good. So that's fun. Okay, good. So ready for number 3? Remember, if you have digital transformation, you're going to have devices of some kind. So here's what you can do now with a digital device. I did all these. You can do this while I talk if you want to. Telescopes or microscopes. So this is a live feed, which you can see online. If you go to Ustream and search for the International Space Station, you can see from outer space. So this is literally the feed from the International Space Station. So sometimes they're doing stuff. Right now they're just, I don't know what they're doing. We're just looking at the Earth move around. See how the Earth's moving? Is that just cool? So pretty neat. But sometimes you hear them going, oh, the ratchet seems to be going, we need a torque increase to 45 degrees. It's like, and over on the side, I didn't show this, but there's like a chat room where every nerd in the world is like watching and going, hey, how's it going? And sometimes they speak Russian up there. Sometimes they speak Russian. And I didn't show you, but in Mystery Skype now, you can actually do simultaneous Spanish translations. Other languages too. So we can Skype with Mexico, and they go, what do you like doing? ¿Qué quieres decir? And the kid goes, la playa. Referrals. My Spanish is now horrible. Voy a la playa. We have to go to the, and the computer goes, we'd like to go to the beach. So anyway, so that's cool. So you can translate the Russian is what I'm saying. Anyway, so that's one thing. So this is tool number 1, the ability to look into outer space from your iPad or your Chromebook, whatever you want. Here's the second thing. This is using the camera. You know, those digital devices have cameras. Did you know that? You know, those phones, they have cameras. So I went to Amazon, and I'll tell you the story in a second, but I put a microscope on my phone, and this is a grasshopper. Then I had kids add scary music to it, but this is a grasshopper shot on a mobile device. Grasshopper didn't make it through the whole shooting. But isn't that kind of cool? So try putting a microscope on that Houghton Mifflin book. You'll see you really don't get a lot of action. So this is where it cleans its antennas and stuff, and anyway, it's all pretty neat. You want to see how you do it? Here's how you do it. You go on Amazon, you buy this thing. I did this on an airplane, and somehow I got the German version of Amazon. So you buy this little clip. It costs €7, about $7 to do this. What, $7? Yeah, it's about $7 to do this. And the way you do it is this. I'll show you. You want to see it? So here's a little microscope. Here's a little clip, right? $7. And I'll go to my iPhone. Here's an iPhone. And this iPhone, by the way, was one I got out of a garage. How many of you have phones in your garage or a drawer that you don't use? Do they still have a camera? Yeah. Do they still connect to the internet, even though there's no plan? Yes. Do the apps on them still work? Yes. Should we have a basket of these things at school, probably? Yes. So anyway, here's the camera, and I'm just going to clamp this thing over it. And so here we go. I'm going to clamp it right there. You can kind of see it. Could you help me, Leroy Finkel? award winner. So I'm going to put this in, I'm going to open it up so we can kind of see it a little bit more. I'm going to put this over the center. So now we kind of see it. I'm going to scoot it over. Come all the way up here, will you? So they have to be able to see us. So now here's the microscope. You don't see much right now, but because it's dark. But for $7, I expect a light. So here's the light.
Ooh, nice.
So here, you see, this is my fabric right there.
Right.
Why don't you explore this fabric right there? Here,
Explore the fabric.
Yeah. So you put it right next to it, right?
It's not as exciting.
No, put it here. So like there you go.
Oh, okay.
So and you focus it by moving it in and out. But could she make a picture of this? Yeah, or a video? $7, not bad. How many of you had problems with head lice at your school? All right, here, go ahead. Just do the scalp.
Let's see.
Do the scalp. Let's just see.
I don't know.
What do you think?
Anyone see anything? I think we're okay.
And when you focus, yeah, thank you very much. Give her a hand. Thank you. Here, would you like this?
Yes.
Here you go. See, $7. I'm a hero. Here you go. So, and there's the UV light is like that too.
I could afford $7. I can buy my own.
It's just a present. Here, take it. Okay. Anyway, let's give her a hand. Yay! Anyway, so how many people think that's kind of a neat thing? Anyway, so you can do it at $7, and that's how it works. So I'll show you this. This is so I'm in an airplane. And the movie on the plane, this is the back of my seat, right? This is the back of my seat. There's somebody else's seat up there. Back of my seat is the movie The Martian, right? And he's coming back, and he's in outer space right now, coming back to Earth. And then down below, there's the International Space Station. So here's a real guy out in space, and here's like Matt Damon being out. I just thought that was so fun. It was just kind of, anyway, this you could not do 10 years ago. You just couldn't do it. And now I can be watching the movie and seeing the real stuff going on. Anyway, all right, so closing. This is the close. This is Sugata Mitra, who was here last year. Anybody see him when he was here? So Mitra is the guy, it's a great TED Talk, who noticed that test scores seemed to fall in India the further you got away from Delhi. Test scores seem to be 1-to-1 with the distance from Delhi. And part of it is the reason we've discussed. Why do you think the scores would go down? A couple of reasons. Maybe the kids get dumber, or the other reason is, yeah, maybe the teachers aren't as engaged because they think, oh, I'm the further away I am, I'm not important, or whatever it is. He said, let's just explore the first one. Let's see how the kids are. So he went to a school in rural India, right? Rural India, which is more rural than rural California. And they put a computer in a building, it's a few years ago, put a hole in the wall, and there was the computer. Closed the building, plugged it in, left town. Came back, pretty good time later, wasn't like that, pretty good time later. What do you think the kids in the village had done? Yeah, they'd hacked into the internet, they knew how to use the camera, they had learned all this math and science stuff, because it's valued there, right? It's valued, math and science stuff. And he said, I don't really believe it, so he started testing them on their knowledge, and they'd give him back these answers in kind of internet English, not the village English, and he realized, oh my God, they really did do it. On their own, they went in and learned all this stuff. It was really sort of an amazing story. So as the story that he told, that I heard in Palm Springs was, he was in Baltimore. He was in Baltimore right before he came to Palm Springs. And a kid came up to him and said, Dr. Mitra, I just wanted to tell you, that's probably not his voice, but I'm in graduate school here in Baltimore. And he said, well, congratulations, because you could tell he was Indian. He said, congratulations on your journey here. He goes, I was one of the kids at the village. How cool is that? So this kid, maybe it was this kid, I don't know, was in the right place at the right time. Just like Bill Gates was in the right school at the right time. One of the few schools in the world that had an internet connection, one of the few schools in the world that was walking distance from a college that had a core internet hub. That's where Bill Gates' story talks about it. He was in the right place at the right time, so was that kid. What we want in California is for every kid to be in the right place at the right time. And we can do that. And if you're not a good reader, you can still be in the right place. If you're a second language learner, you can still be in the right place. If you're good at drawing or you're not good at drawing, or you can do this. If we differentiate our schools, if we make that digital transition, every school we have can be the right place at the right time for those kids. So thank you very much. Anyway, thanks. There's like 5 minutes of questions. Anybody have any questions? Yes. Well, I would say get them to come to this session. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm really glad you came. I love having this job, but that's who this is built for, are those folks who are just kind of fun. And if you show this to a community in that school, they go, okay, we get it. And then they start talking to the board, we start talking to the soup. But it's not a slam dunk. I was in a school in Chicago last week, and 2 years ago, it was 1995. They had like 2 of those old big computers in every classroom. You know, there was a lab that we do keyboarding skills. And it was a blue-collar kind of community. It was a very interesting district. They had railroad tracks down the middle, and on one side, the second language was Polish, and on the other side, it was Arabic, because the Syrians and a lot of other refugees were coming there. So I'm talking to the faculty, lots of headscarves. It made me very proud to be in public education, right? So it was very cool. Anyway, the superintendent, he'd been there 2 years, goes, we're making the transition. We're buying digital books, we fixed the infrastructure, we're going this way. And we came to talk to them in that community to say, here's where we're going. And I'm telling you, by the end, everybody was jazzed. They went, we have to do this. Not because future jobs, which is good too, but because this is better teaching, you know what I mean? So yeah, just turn us loose on them. Let Cindy Moss and I chew on them for about a day. Anyway, other questions? And those were, the digital stuff was discoveries. They're showing them probably for the rest of the conference across the street in Palm Springs. If you want to go, Palm Springs Unified. A couple of things. You can go explore and see what you think, but they're pretty good. Other questions? All right, well, how many people learned something? All right, thank you very much. Thank you for coming. This is where the handouts are. Oh, you can clap now, thank you. It's reinforcement. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.